Hello, beautiful soul, and welcome to another episode of Intuitive Creators Spotlight. I am Stella, your host, and in this playlist, I am inviting amazing guests who have transformed their lives and now are on a path to help other people transform their lives too. So today, I have here with me beautiful Samantha Jayne. She is a psychic medium. She is a multidimensional trance healer, a spiritual coach, and an award-winning entrepreneur with over 23 years of experience in the spiritual industry. Hi, Samantha. Welcome to this
Hello
interview.
there. Thank you. Welcome. I'm very welcomed and honoured to be here. So thank you for that. It's great.
I'm really, really happy to connect with you today, and I can't wait for you to share your story with me and with everyone who's watching this episode. So, I know that you've had an extraordinary spiritual journey, and this journey started with the powerful experiences during your pregnancy.
Yes.
Can you tell us some of those moments during your pregnancy when you started to understand that something is happening, something is shifting in your life?
Yeah. So basically, what happened was, and we're going back 25 years ago now. You know how that's possible when I'm only 30. I don't know, but we're going back 25 years ago, and I was pregnant and not a planned pregnancy. My daughter knows that. She won't mind me saying. And I was in a very, very dark place. So what happened was that as crazy as this sounds, when you're in that, you don't think logically, do you, when you're in such a dark place? And I was pregnant, 4 months pregnant, unexpectedly, and I was unemployed, single, 24 hours off eviction. And I wanted to die, to be honest with you, because I felt I had nothing to give this child and hadn't got the strength, because it does take strength to kill yourself. I hadn't got the strength for that. So I actually spent the night on my knees praying and begging for God, universe, whatever, to do it for me, quite honestly. Obviously, that didn't happen. But what did happen, unbeknown to me at that point, was that a spirit who had taken his own life had heard my pleas and decided that he would help me. So he did what we call an attachment. He attached himself to me. And basically, every night for the next 4.5 months, he tried to kill me. As he's energetically, obviously, trying to take me out of the body. I was black and blue from that experience, and it was incredibly scary. I also thought I was losing my mind because no one would believe me, including spiritual churches back then. And yeah, every night as I was falling asleep, um, his face would appear in front of me, and then the hand would come forwards. I'd be grabbed by the neck, as it were, up out of the body. Now, by this point, my dad has come and saved me, as it were. So, I want to live now. So I'm fighting and fighting because I'm worrying about the baby inside me. But I would bounce across the ceiling with him, across the ceiling, down the stairs. And then something, when I got to the front door of the house, something would ping, and I'd go, and I would land with such a bang that there were occasions when my dad even woke up in the night through the bang, that he picked up on as well, to come and check if I was actually all right. Obviously, didn't let on what was going on because I thought I was losing the plot. I really did, through all the stress of everything. So yeah, and then so no one was helping me, and then I went to a charity mediumship night held by it was Colin Fry, who's no longer with us. And at the back of the display was a crystal stand, and it was a company called the Feathers, I think, in Gloucester. And as I was looking at the crystals, and I was like 8.5 months pregnant. This one was huge, huge, but huge for me. And she tapped me on the shoulder and she said, I need to, I think you need to come and see me. I need to help you. And I said, really? And she said, yes, we need to get rid of that man that stood with you. Well, I just went like a banshee across the room because finally
Mm,
someone, well, it was like in that moment, I knew I wasn't mental. Finally, I was heard. Finally, I was seen. All of these things, yeah, and so that's what they did, and they removed the attachment. But from that experience, I obviously recognised that I need to learn. I'd always known I'd had ability, didn't dabble in it or anything like that. You know what I mean? I just was aware of spirit. If I'm honest, I thought everyone was.
mm,
Didn't see anything. Didn't see anything like out of the norm with it. Didn't think
mm,
you had to train into it. Didn't think you needed to know how to protect, how to control. But yeah, so my awakening was real, what we'd call a dark experience of attachment and threat to life. So I realised at that point I needed to start to listen, needed to start to take care of myself energetically, and then the journey began basically as my baby was born. It became
mm.
about all of that.
Wow, what an incredible soul contract you have with your daughter. I mean, she came to start this journey for you because, everything started in that moment when you started having all of the different thoughts about what to do with your life and then calling for something to happen with your body. But then, clearly that spirit saw that power in you
Mm.
and wanted to feed off, I guess, that
Yeah,
power. And I totally understand when you're saying that. At some point, you just think that everybody around you understands these things.
yeah,
Um, because for you they begin to be normal. You see things,
yeah,
you feel things, you perceive things, and they are normal. Just like when somebody does a profession for a very long time or they have a gift for a very long time, and then they might just think that everybody else can do that same thing. Well,
yeah,
when you're born with this kind of power, it can be dormant for years. And
yeah.
then something like this would happen, and then you'll be like, oh, hold on, I need to learn how to work with it because if what do you think would have happened if you would have said, well, actually, I continue to not want to look into this, or
Mm.
I choose not to embrace my gift. What do you think would have happened?
I honestly don't think I would have had a choice.
Mhm.
I kind of joke that I've all the years I've done this work, I have quit. I think I've quit 4 times in a hissy fit, usually in my car, telling them, uh,
Mhm.
and whenever I've tried to do a different type of career, they've shut it down. They've shut everything down. I always come back to this, so I stopped
Mhm.
doing that. I learned I was wasting my time trying to do other stuff that would conform,
Mhm.
because obviously a huge part of the journey, if you're like me and working in this way, is you've got to really get over and deal with the blocks around acceptance and being seen and being heard and not giving a monkeys about other people's attitudes and opinions and reactions as well to
Mhm.
what you do. I mean, I'd always been like, I mean, I look back, I think that's just ridiculous. Sam. I've always been aware of spirit. I was born dead, and then I died a further 2 times. And so it's like, and I believe that's what activated the whole path. And, I look back and I think, how crazy is Sam? I'm the girl, I didn't sing to the hairbrush in the mirror.
Mhm.
I stared at my face in the mirror and watched, because I'm a trance physical medium, and watched other faces appear.
Mhm.
And talk to them. And I'm like, Sam, what part of normal is that?
Mhm.
Just I was the child who would walk upstairs and see an old man walk towards me and walk through me and out the other side of me.
Mm-hmm.
And I just never questioned any of it. So yeah, but definitely I think that a large part of it and why that happened was to activate me at that point to recognize, one, back then it was all light and fluff, and then no one believed in the darkness and da 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 da. Which, so I've always been an advocate, but no, there actually is. It's produced through the mind, but it's there. Um, and that, helping people to not be in that darkness is what my work is about, basically. I take people out of their darkness and bring them back into light.
Mm.
And that's
Can you?
why. Mm.
Ah, I love that. Can you share with us one example from your beautiful, big, vast experience of someone who was at their lowest point in that moment of darkness? They came to you and then you helped them invite light into their lives. Can you share with us a story, an example of that?
Gosh, so many, so many, so many. I deal a lot with people who are suicidal.
Mm-hmm.
I deal with a lot of that. So again, it's those similar threads that come into play. But I also, one person that springs to mind, which is a crazy, crazy story, was a client of mine was under a massive, massive psychic attack from an ex-partner who was very abusive. So it was all coming from that dark space of domestic abuse and violence and mind control, emotional control, financial, all of it, all of it. And although this lady didn't attempt to take her life, her body, through the amount of trauma, her body went into a shutdown and she appeared to have um, um, a stroke, a heart attack, and die. And when she came round, all she could say is, "I need Sam, I need Sam." And her partner had been coming to me, unbeknown to her, for me to work with his trauma from his military days. So they drove and brought her here, and I worked with her. And it was just, she would say to you, "I saved her life," because it was touch and go that we would lose her again, because she was so, the trauma had so impacted the brain and everything, because it unleashed trauma. And she's had so much trauma to work through and process. But she would say, "I saved her life that day." I always say, "I didn't, you did the work. I
Mm-hmm.
just was the activator, and the block." And I removed him. I
Mm.
removed him from the building. Let's just say that. But it's, and it's just, those are the moments. But I think nothing of it. I think nothing of it. That sounds like I don't value it. I do. It's just, this is what I do,
Yeah.
you know. And I'm very, very blessed, very, very lucky. I work with the most beautiful people, because part of my deal with my team is that I will only work with lovely people. And
Mm.
that's all I do. I work with the loveliest of people who are simply lost in their darkest days. Um,
Mm.
Lockdown, we saw so much of that.
Mhm.
Um, and I've worked with a lot of families, post family members killing themselves in the lockdown season, all young men. And I think, on one hand, the good thing that's come out of that is that, men do have mental health problems as well. So I do work increasingly with more men now as well, which is good,
Mhm.
because it means their awareness is coming up as well. So I heal the healers, basically. I heal the
Oh,
healers, and that's what I do. Um, but yeah, and little children as well. I work with children who are struggling because they're on the spectrum, as people like to call it, and they're just in absolute overwhelm, from being able, if you've got a child on the spectrum, you've basically got the new human race. And that
mhm.
is the new human being, or humanoid, as my guides like to call them. And that's why you'll never fit a 5D child into a 3D world, because they're not supposed to. But of course, they've been in absolute overwhelm from all of that energy. So I like to work with them as well. So, yeah.
Mm. And so when you say that you work with all of these people who, receive so much help from you, how would you say you work? Because I know you use different methods or different approaches in your work. What would you say is your gift? Like, how is your gift, your energy helping them?
When I ask my team what is my calling, because calling
Mhm.
and purpose are different things, my calling is to shift people out of the head and into the heart vibration.
Mm.
So you could describe it as out of 3D into 5D. And I work with empaths. Took me a while to work it out, but everyone, no matter who they are, where they come from, they come to me, they're empaths and they've just absorbed everything. So I think my work is it's evolved. I began 25 years ago as a meditation tutor, and it has evolved to me now being a spiritual trance healer and a trance voice medium, trance voice healer. And it's just about raising people's vibration. So I really do see myself as a spiritual trance healer. I I I am just the conduit. I joke. I don't really work. I just get out the way. I anchor my spirit team's energy into this space, and they work through me. So I'm part of a team, basically. And what I find is beautiful about that work is everything is about returning to self, returning to your soul, returning to who you truly are rather than who you've been led to believe you are through life experience. So what I love is I see my clients, I keep joking, I must photograph them before and after a session because they completely change
Mhm.
the light, the energy. So it's just about, my work is about shifting the darkness out of their miasma, out the DNA, out of their ancestrals, their karmics, their parallels, because I'm able to go backwards and forwards and across all the dimensions and timelines so that I can get the hurt versions of you. And I can heal that hurt version of you at age 6 or 13 or 28 or whatever. And I can bring those fragments of your soul back, but back in joy, not back in fear. Because, yes, it's about love, isn't it? Risk to sound like a hippie, but it is.
It is. It is very much about love. And when you look at all of these stories around you, and especially when somebody's going through a lot of challenges and obstacles, and yeah, they are drawn to love as well. You share this energy, and I strongly believe this is one of the most beautiful, powerful energies in the universe. It has the power to heal, and yes, it's something that we all need. So after you have experienced, I'll go back to that moment when like everything started. Well, after you've experienced that attachment, and then you received help for it to be removed, and then you mentioned you understood that you need to kind of start taking care more about your energy and your spirit, your own beautiful soul. What kind of techniques or methods did you find or discover maybe for yourself in order to protect yourself? Or one of my friends, she's using the term spiritual hygiene. How
Yeah,
did you learn for yourself to do that? And do
yeah.
you have anything in particular that you use?
Um, Back then, and I still now, I'm adamant that meditation is the key to everything. You have to ground the physical body into the earth. And the biggest problem with people when they're trying to develop spiritually, or they are an overthinker, is that they come up and they disconnect and they disconnect and then they get into problems because they are not grounded in. So you must always ground in. We're crystalline beings. We need to be grounded into the crystalline energies. And I do that into the Mother Earth energy in the middle of the earth. But then also, over the years, as the way the dimensions and the vibrations have shifted and changed, how my team protect me has changed over time. So back then we'd do white light, beam around you, da 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 da. Yep, still works. Do not get me wrong. If anyone's listening, don't panic. It still works. However, what for my work, what my team get me to do is then bring the Mother Earth energy up through those roots, bringing that up and taking it into the heart space, because everything now operates through the heart with me, and then bring it out from the heart to protect. And then I expand. But I have to first, again, build my crystalline grid to then, does that make sense? To then bring that energy through. So I'm use the heart space now to protect,
Mm,
rather than, because I'm going up and up and up and up and up through all the galactics. So it's just about that protection of the human self as
mm,
well as the energetic, because once you get beyond a certain level, you don't need that protection, but it's all those bits, it's all those layers that we work
mhm,
through and go through, is where the
mm.
mind is still a factor. When you let go of the mind and you're purely in the love vibration, then you don't necessarily need, you don't need that level of protection because you've got such awareness. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, absolutely. It makes so much
I
sense.
just got to explain something that's normal.
Yeah, and it just shows how we evolve, and especially when we embrace our own journey, we become aware of all the transformation that happens, the results, the ripple effect that our energy creates in the world, but also what is it that we need to do to nourish ourselves on all of these different levels. And I can totally see how, the type of protection changes as you go, as you
Yeah,
travel in this
yeah,
vast universe, and
yeah,
then how you interact with this world also changes. It becomes um, different. I mean, for me, it happens faster, much faster. Like the more you work, the more experience you have.
yeah,
You just within seconds you can see so much. And I actually did drumming for someone for a past life clearing, and within seconds I saw so much, like loads and loads of flashes, and the person was telling me, how did you see all of that in just a few seconds?
yeah,
After doing this for so many years and we work on our protection, that like opens up our hearts even more. But I think it's such an important job for us as healers. That's why I wanted to ask you, and it was so
mm,
important that you shared with us all. It's so important for us as healers to find our own ways
yeah,
to open our own hearts in a safe way, whatever safe means for us.
yeah,
And also to be in this balance, because I think, like, for example, I know now if I am very tired, if I go through something, I need to honor that. And I need to not push myself because it's a responsibility, isn't it?
yeah.
It is a
Definitely,
responsibility.
definitely. And the thing is as well, because everything I do, I just absolutely love doing what I do. I went through a number of years where I could not say no. And, because for want of a better word, it's almost addictive, because it's just, well, why wouldn't we want to sit in a bubble of love, you know? So I've had to learn discipline as a healer as well, as part of that protection. Before we went into lockdown, I was literally working 6 days a week and 4 nights a week. Went into lockdown, that changed everything. It allowed me a reset. And I still have stood my ground that I literally only work 4 days a week, because I need a 3-day weekend to re-energize myself and take care of myself. So it's a huge part of protection. You have to understand, as healers, is protecting yourself from other people's energy and stuff by having the boundaries.
Hmm.
And again, that comes from doing that inner work, as we said before, about losing the fear of acceptance and gotta be. Because when you're put here to serve, which we are, a massive challenge with that is that programming that you must give, you must give, you must give, you must give. And it's like, no, you're actually here to serve yourself first,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because actually
Absolutely.
you're here for your own spiritual growth. Your business or your healing modality is actually simply a tool for your own spiritual growth that you have been chosen to share with others as you go. Make
Oh,
sense?
you said it so beautifully, absolutely, because if we do not honor our own journey, if we don't create these strong boundaries with love, it's not that we create these boundaries to kind
Yeah,
of push
yeah,
everybody away, but it's these are boundaries that are important for our own soul journey, that it is then very hard to serve other people and the planet and the world and this universe as well. And so I know you mentioned about being an empath, and I also know that you talk about being a specific type of empath. Would you like to share that with
yeah.
us? What that
Hey,
means to
I
you?
am a Heyoka empath. So it's just that I am super, super sensitive. Is the best way for me to describe that. So it's just I feel everything, and I feel it across all space and time and all dimensions. And so it's one of the things. So it's it does. I mean, it's why I'm able to do what I can do. 100%. It's very deep rooted, very, very spiritual experience of everything. But again, it's why I must take care of me or it all crashes, because there's a risk of absorption, because we take everything off everyone else, and that's what we do. So, and it's funny you said about drumming. I use drumming to work through my own energy, to clear that, just my own. I love to do shamanic. I also use shamanic to, when I'm doing a big healing shift, I use shamanic. They taught me how, my team taught me how to prepare holy ground. And part of the layers that I have to build, one of them is to clear that earth and space and time through the shamanic, even though I'm not shamanic trained or anything like that. Spirit have trained me in everything virtually that I do, just for the record. But I drum before clients come. I drum and I prepare the space to clear it. So, but again, it's all part of taking care of the whole self. And when for me as an empath, it's just you'll never see me. Unfortunately, as much as I would love to go and watch Pink in concert, I'd love to see Pink in concert. You're probably never going to get me there, because I'd be like, from everyone, because it's just wherever I'm sent. I'm sent to project energy. I'm sent to heal. Even when I'm not working, I'm still healing. I'm still projecting energy. That's why people like to sit in my company, you know?
Mhm.
Um, so I would be exhausted.
Oh, yes.
Far too many people. So yeah, you're more likely to find me hugging a tree in the Forest of Dean.
Oh, I love that forest, by the
Yeah.
way. I absolutely love that forest.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I know that you work with ancestral
Yes.
trauma and karmic imprint. So if you were to think about, again, your experience, what would you say are the most common patterns you see holding people back when they want to
It's
move forward in life?
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because we all crave love, because we are love. But we have been all been programmed and I do believe all been programmed at some point that we are not worthy of love. And what comes through a lot in ancestrals time and time again is, and I had a client this week as well, coincidentally, is we must be really careful how we speak to our children, because even in when you think they're too little to remember, everything goes in energetically. So for example, I recently worked with a woman who had no self-worth, her words, no self-worth, had hit a milestone age and realised she spent her whole life making sure everyone else is okay, not her. Now, I hear that on a daily basis in my work. And when I did the healing work, what it came down to was at the age of 2, her mum had had a baby and the baby had died. And so she felt, even at the age of 2, she felt guilty for being alive. Because she'd watched her mum grieve this other baby and kind of, in the child's mind, reject her. And she was still trying to prove she was worthy of her mother's love. And this gets passed down. And the thing with ancestrals is, it's like, and I work a lot with incest, with clients who've been subjected to incest and stuff like that, and all forms of child abuse. And actually, when we go back, it's like there's been 3 generations in the family. So I'm ending that pattern there. One of the most, for me as a healer, the most beautiful achievements I've had with a client was, I had a lady come to me whose children had been wrongly taken from her by into care. And it was before lockdown, though I didn't see it till after lockdown. And of course, then it all stopped, didn't it? So children that were supposed to be in care for 3 months ended up in care for 2 years. And no matter what she did, she couldn't get her children back through the system. And so she came for a mediumship sitting, and I got told, help her. So I didn't charge her, and I took her through the karmic cleanse. And again, it was releasing a pattern, a pattern of incest that was 3 generations. And she'd been for 2 years trying to get her children back. And within 3 months of doing that clearance work, her children were back in her home. And, the children were desperate to meet me. But, and it's like, she wouldn't have got them back because that was the ancestral pattern that had gone on, this loss and hurt of children, this abuse, this loss. And on this one, in this cycle, it hadn't actually even gone on. It was a false accusation as well. So it's just mind-blowing, isn't it? But that can be the extent that an ancestral karmic trail is playing out and forming patterns of existence in your physical experience. But again, it's for you to heal. So we shut that down. So her children will not now do a repeat of that.
Wow, what a beautiful gift for this person and her children as well, because this is something that I always love to say, that when we heal ourselves, we do heal generations before, but also generations that will follow. And this is really, really powerful. And when we stop for a moment and we acknowledge what's happening and we choose to do the work, we ask for help as well, how this person came to you, even if she came for a completely different thing,
Yeah.
from mediumship, but she trusted her own inner guidance to connect with you. And what a beautiful gift that is. And what a gift it is that you continue to share your journey with others as well. So if you could share one message to
Yeah.
the younger version of yourself today,
Okay.
that version of yourself who was at the beginning of this spiritual journey, what message would you share?
I think one of the things I've had to really get my head around over the years is that as healers, we must heal, and we must heal thyself. And it's so often people feel that it's very, very challenging to be healers, to be spiritual, but the thing is, you say, if you want your abilities to develop, you have to heal yourself. You've got to do the work. It's just like in business. I say to my clients, you've got to do the work. It's the inner work. So your ability to heal and your abundant state within that is actually a reflection of the light that you carry. And what I mean by that is it's down to how much work you do on yourself. You have to be authentic. If you are, abundance only comes through authenticity. If you are not doing your own healing work, then you are unable to heal others. It will stop because you're in a limited version of self. So you have to understand that, yes, you will have days where you are in breakdown, let's call it that, and you're this and you're that, and you're telling to go away in other language, and you will have those moments. It's not all white fluffy stuff to be spiritual, to be a healer, because we have to heal the darkest parts of ourselves. That shadow self needs acknowledging, at least acknowledging. And so therefore, just know, if your work is not flowing, it's because your own energy is not flowing. And what I mean by that is you've got some kind of block in your energy field, whether it's in your present, whether it's in your future or your past, or other versions of self playing out in different timelines. And you've got to do the work. So if ever you are in business as a healer, and you have to get your head around that as well. All right. I joked with someone this morning. My hairdresser earns more an hour than me. So don't tell me we can't charge what we charge. Oh, yes, we can. What she does lasts for 2 weeks. What I do could last a lifetime.
Absolutely. That was a good one.
It's true, isn't it?
Mm.
But it's all about doing your inner work in order to enable you to work with others. So if ever it stops, it slows down or whatever, go within. Don't focus on the going without. Go within, because it's your time. It's your time for a shift. And then you come back up and your vibration is just a little bit finer, and you can attract a little bit more of who you're meant to work with.
What a beautiful message. Thank you so much, Samantha. Thank you
My
for
pleasure.
sharing your wisdom, your knowledge, your experience with us all. To everyone who's watching us, please take a moment to check the description of this video to know how you can connect with Samantha. She is absolutely amazing at what she does. She has a lot of different things going on, really exciting things. And depending on when you're watching this video, make sure you check out the latest things that Samantha is focusing on at that point. Thank you so much for watching us. If you're new to this channel, please subscribe, like this video, let us know your thoughts, and I can't wait to see you again soon. Take care, bye, and thank you, Samantha. Bye.
Thank you.